Good afternoon, Cubes of the Cache, and happy Savage Saturday. Welcome to Savage Saturday Comic Review, episode 106, and this is part 2 of 3 where we are featuring the character Salimba from Blackthorn Publishing. And just these 3 stories were a lot of fun for me, and as I mentioned in the previous one, this particular volume, which is a reprint trade paperback from About Comics, has a 4th prose story in the back, and good stuff. That came out much later, but we are considering ourselves with the 3 comic stories. Now, last week we gave you the first story, which was short and is kind of a bookend from either side. We have another short story coming next week, but the meat and potatoes story was this middle one here, where we get to learn a lot more about who the Salimba character is. And it might be Salimba, I don't know, but I call her Salimba, so we're going with that. So part 1 of this story was in this book in 3D, and then part 2 continued into the second issue. There was only 2 issues, and then we had the third part, which was a shorter story in it. Now we are concerning ourselves, like I said, with the second part of the story, and I call these Savage Saturday Comic Reviews. Are they reviews, really? No, it's me sharing a story with you guys, one that I think is fun, one I think you may or may not have been exposed to before, or just remembered an old story that's great. Not so much a review. I'm not always comfortable with the word review, because if I review something, it is solely my opinion. Like, I don't listen to other people's reviews on stuff. I will watch and see what they thought of it, but in no way influences if I'm going to read or see something myself. Even with critics, movie critics, whatever, they can have their critique. It doesn't matter to me. If I decided I want to see a movie, I'm going to see it regardless of what anybody says, and I'm going to form my own opinion, as I think all people should. Don't listen to others. Listen to yourself. If you want to see something or read something, do so. You know, if someone doesn't like something, you decide not to see it, you may miss out on one of your favorite reads or watches of your life. You never know. You know, now you may agree with them, but you don't know until you actually consume the content yourself. Now, as I said, review is in my title, but it's me sharing a story that I like with you and that I think is worthy of preservation and passing along, and just don't want to see some of these great classics forgotten about. And so we are going to leave this graphic novel in here because this is the easiest one to read and present to you guys. It's a little bit larger format, a little bit easier to handle, and obviously the 3D ones wouldn't show up properly. Now we are going to start our second story here, and this is called, and we'll show you the page, and of course I'll be putting stuff over here, but I'm going to lift the book up because, damn it, I love doing it. This is called The Well of Night. Alright, we're going to get right into it. Now, like I did last week, I'll probably just read you the entire story and show pages because it's just a fun story. One you're not going to have access to a lot. And just one of those lost in time. Again, this is from 1985. Steve Perry written, and Paul Chadwick art, and great covers, great art inside. And our story begins with the pure disease of friends like these. And it says, smell it. The jungle shivers with cascading fragrance, the scent of water lilies, but beneath this silver shower of light, the musk of panthers and people, there is another smell. Taste it. Salt and heat secreted from the life body, the spice of immortality, unwashable. Feel it. The lick of nature on her vernal skin. She is timeless as water, primal as lust, the endless queen of their jungle domain. She is fierce at times, and at times kind. She is Salimba, and sometimes she becomes so full of herself she fails to smell the rot, the pure disease of friendship. And our story begins with her playing in her royal pool with her loyal subjects around her in this jungle. Now, Salimba is immortal. She's been around forever, and we're going to learn a little bit of what happens and comes with that immortality. All right, and she's looking in this crystal she has. She's like, I've found her at last. Naomi, my most beautiful. And Selima catches Naomi up in an embrace, and Naomi's protesting. She's like, "Don't! You're all wet." And she's like, "You've smudged me. Now I must do it all over again." And Naomi was like doing up her makeup and her the way she likes to be done. And Selima picks her up and dunks her in the water, and Naomi comes out just mad. She's like, "Won't you ever grow up?" And Selima's like, "Don't be angry. It's just a game." And Naomi is just straight striking out at her at this point. She's like, "I hate your games. Everything's a game to you. Even watching us all grow old and ugly and die while you stay a child." And it's an accusation, not a solely inaccurate one either. And Naomi's looking at her and she's like, "You call us your people, but you don't care about us. You don't care a bit." And then we switch scenes. And as we kind of got that little bit of information, how the people that are under Selima feel, they feel like their lives are fleeting in Selima's eye, that they're specks in her timeline, and they don't really matter to her because they're just part of all things that pass. Now we switch to this other place where there's this evil woman there, and her name is Lai. It says, "Call her Lai, the dog woman, sorceress of Canis. The names are her own. Truth is forgotten here." And she's like, "I'm in love." She's watching Selima through a crystal herself. And it says, "Such purity, such innocence. The search is over. She will be mine." And one of her humans that she keeps for herself, she's like, "You'll just infect her." And to this, Lai says, "Shut up, Bliss." She goes, "Or you'll taste the well of night again. You enjoy existing as protoplasmic scum?" She's like, "No, please." And she's like, "You're lucky. You're all I've got left. No one else to play with. But that will change when I lower this child here." And it says, "Here in her scavenged kingdom, here near the Valley of Bones, where all gorillas go to die and sometimes come back." And you see a dead gorilla rising and making its way forward. So you got Selima getting dressed down by her people, and you got the evil sorceress Lai, who has infatuation with Selima and is very abusive to humans and uses them for her own pleasure and whatever, and also has command of dead gorillas. So a lot going on there. So the gorilla has I'm sorry. So we saw that the gorilla was actually entering the kingdom, and you can see that the crystal that she's seeing through is in the dead gorilla's eye, and it's supposed to abduct Selima, but instead it grabs Naomi, and she's yelling her commands, and the gorilla punches Selima and knocks her away and grabs Naomi, and Lai is looking through her own crystal, saying, "No, you stupid ape, the wrong girl." And both of Selima's cats jump at the dead ape. And it's like, together Selima's cats strike 400 pounds of tooth and claw, biting, rending the putrid flesh that knows no death. Now the ape grabs both of these cats and just slams them down, almost killing them. Selima emerges out of the water where the ape knocked her, and she says, "Let her go." Come. And through the ape's eye, you see Lai's projection of her face, and she's saying, "Come and get her. Come on, little girl cat, come to me." And Selima is in action. She is chasing the ape, and we get a great art shot of a close-up, just like a little collage in one panel. It says, "This girl is mine, and you will be mine." And you can see her talking through the dead ape's jewel. And it was just a great layover there by Paul Chadwick, looking in the scene and kind of giving you a close-up. And Naomi's calling out Selima, and all the rest of the people are saying, "Hurry, hurry, save Naomi." And Selima says no. And all the people look at her and start questioning, and they're questioning Selima. They're like, "Was Naomi right? Do you care so little for us?" And Selima tells them that, "I explain myself to no one. But if you must know, the first attack is one of patience, then of fang and claw. Now leave me, I do this alone." And off Selima goes to plot the rescue of Naomi. But she's also been left with a lot of thoughts. And as she's leaving the place, so Selima lingers, thinking as the jungle cools with twilight. Why should she say Why should she save Naomi? Is she worth it? Are any of her people worth anything to her? They are born, they die, and more are born again. An endless progression that never affects her. Faces blurring into faces as her memory reaches its limit, becoming cloudy and confused. Does Naomi matter? And this is the question that Salima is thinking about. And Salima does not know yet, and it is desire to find out that galvanizes her finally. To pad well-worn past through the sight of past loves and trials and trails. Through the reality only she knows to be false. And she is at the well of light, her source of power and her strength. So Salima's got the well of light. Lai has the well of night. So two opposing sides. And she's like, my heritage, my fangs, and she grabs her swords and she drinks from the well, which helps give her her power and her immortality. All right, so as we turn the page, we get just more beautiful close-up art of Salima by Paul Chadwick. Just, we'll show you, look at that. Gorgeous, gorgeous rendering. Just beautiful art. And it says, her nose tells her the trail. The stench of rot, so strong it makes her heightened senses real. And she tells her cats to stay. Now, there will be no problem following this prey. The only problem will be to punish the one responsible. And you see the cats are kind of just sitting there watching her disappear. And our next panel says, improve to herself and Naomi that no challenge to Salima's domain goes unanswered. She goes, it never pauses, it never rests. The jewel in its eye socket accelerates its normally sluggish movements. And we're talking about the zombie gorilla now as it's carrying Naomi to the camp. It never pauses, it never rests. The jewel in its eye socket accelerates its normally sluggish movements so that it devours the distance in 2 nights and a day. Salima, a tireless engine of youth, covers it in half the time. And as she nears her destination, she feels her curiosity flame, drawing her like a moth toward. We'll show you these books, even though I'm going to show you the panels to the right, or to my left, whatever appears to you. And the Dog Woman's Castle. And then you get this long overshot, and you see more dead apes around with buzzards picking at them. So we'll show you that real quick. Just a distant shot, a layout. And then our next page is Salima covering rooftops inside the Dog Woman's Castle and domain. It says, life muscles work in effortless harmony, supple and tireless after her 2-day sprint. Senses honed to an edge sharper than her blades. Salima scrambles across the top of her destination. Here is where she'll find Naomi, one of her people abducted by a walking gorilla corpse, animated by unthinkable practices. Here is where she'll find the dark and bleary face that taunted her to follow, dared her to rescue Naomi, promised to defeat the Jungle Girl. Here is where Salima will discover the meaning of friendship, the tax of caring, the truth in herself. Here in the den of the Dog Woman. Again, just a great shot of her making her way across rooftops. And inside, Salima's questioning things like, what sickness lingers here? A blight so thick you can carve it, and carve it I shall. Carve it from the heart of my jungle. And you have Lai greeting Naomi, who's in the arms of the dead gorilla that's setting her down. And she's like, greetings, glad you could come. Even though this stupid ape wasn't supposed to abduct you, I bring them back to life, but while they have their uses, they're a shade less than bright. And she goes, still, your presence should lure the Jungle Girl to me. I'd be surprised if it didn't. Don't fear, my dear. I won't let you go to waste. Besides, and she unclips something from Bliss, her human servant right now. And she says, this bag of meat is all but used up. One last time in her before she's scrapped, and then she clinks the necklace around Naomi's neck. And Bliss just kind of crumples. She's not dead, but she's rather weak. And she goes, and I'll need someone to play with until your Jungle Queen arrives. And Naomi's like, Salima will not follow after me. Her people mean nothing to her. And Lai says, Salima, is that her name? Salima. She's sounding it out. She goes, beautiful. It rolls off the tongue like the sound of. And then they both scream out, broken glass. But we'll get to that page in a second. Broken glass as Selima crashes through the top of the structure, which had a glass dome, and falls in the middle, sword drawn, and immediately takes the head off one of the zombie apes. And she's sitting there, battle ready. She says, "I've come for my friend." And Lai goes, "Friend? Is that it? Take her and go? And what about me? All the trouble I went through to lure you here." And she goes, "Besides, she isn't your friend. She's just human scum. You don't care about them, I can tell. You're like me. I knew it when I first saw you through the jewel. We have roots. We're older, stronger, different. We're forever." And Lai's almost singing now. She's like, "Together, I knew you'd be mine. Your incredible beauty, your ancient purity. It just makes me want to." And she's like, "Ooh." And she goes, "You'll come to see things my way after you've tasted the well of night. You'll live at my side and make these endless years tolerable. I'll own you, command you, and I will love you to death." And Selima tells her, "If I accept, you free Naomi." And Lai's like, "Oh, no, there's no proposition involved. I need my humans." And that's when she lives up to her name, the Dog Woman, and she has these dogs that she six after Selima. She goes, "And I need you." Now, as these dogs go to attack Selima, both her big cats show up and they jump on the dogs and kill them. And Selima's like, "Ja, you disobeyed me, but you are forgiven." And Lai's like, "You killed my dogs. Unfair. It leaves me no choice." And she grabs Bliss and she's like, "Stop struggling, Bliss. Be thankful your release is finally near." And she drags her to the Well of Night. And once at the Well of Night, she slits her throat as Selima is trying to make her way to them by killing the gorillas. She's lopping off heads, hands, arms of these gorillas. And she's like, "This is getting tiresome." And you got some fierce shots of just these gorillas being hacked to pieces. And you have Lai holding Bliss into the water of the Well of Night. She goes, "You'll beat all those stupid apes." She'll beat all those stupid apes. She's a fighter. Good. It makes your ending, Bliss, all the more fitting. And she's talking to her slave. And before we get to the next page, we'll show you this. So a lot of action going on in these 2 pages. And you're seeing what happens to the humans that are stuck serving Lai, as they're just murdered when the time comes for her. And she's like, "Selima," and she's like, "You, Selima." She goes, "You lose." And she's talking to Selima as the blood of Bliss runs into the Well of Night. And you can see it start percolating up in there, adding whatever supernatural element it adds to it. And she goes, "Once I drink from the Well of Night, nothing is denied me. Nothing. Kill her, Selima, kill her." This is Naomi talking now, from her knees on the ground. "Kill her," she's saying. And Lai is like, "Yes, kill me if you can. Kill me." But her face is starting to change. It's starting to elongate. It's becoming monstrous, and now it's starting to separate. It says, "Is something wrong, Selima? Am I not beautiful?" And we can see that action happening there on this page here. And as we turn the page, we see a full transformation of Lai into this 3-headed Ghidorah type demon creature. Right? And she's like, "The Well of Night reveals the primal form. We've ruled for eons, none are mightier. Relent, little girl, you will love me, or I'll rip your heart out and possess it that way." And that chapter ends, and Selima in the Well of Night begins. And it says, she calls herself Lai, and this is her truth. A shape and smell from the very pit brought on by the well's viscous liquid mixed with human blood. Primal and organic and nasty as waste. A black heart run amok with the lust for the corruption of Selima's love. And you get an overview shot, which is quite nice, of her transformed into this 3-headed Cerberus dog-like creature. And you have Selima's panthers making its way towards the creature. And you have Selima behind them, both swords drawn. And you have Naomi off to the right, a helpless witness to whatever is playing out in front of her. And it says, Lai of Scavenge Canas at the Valley of Bones, where gorillas go to die, has revealed herself. And Naomi, whose abduction began it all, and the zombie gorillas whom Lai animates from the valley, and Jaw and Fur, the great panthers, and Salimba herself sink into the endless well of night. So really, really great setup for the next chapter. And Salimba is calling her cats to her, and Lai in her new form is saying, no hope, no chance. If you don't love me, I'll kill all you do love, and then I will be all that's left for you. And with this, she's striking the panthers, she's biting them, and she goes, why don't you just make things easy and drink now from the well of night? Once tasted, you'll see my beauty. You'll see we are alike. And she's asking Salimba to love her, and she's demanding it. She's like, love me, love me. And Salimba is just fighting her. She's cutting at her with the swords. She's already stabbed one into her, and Lai is just removing these things. She goes, you're quick, too quick. This game stops now. And she catches Salimba in her jaws. And she gives her a good toss. She goes, this ends now. She has her jaw trapped around Salimba's thigh. And she pounds her to the ground and says, heavy, grinding sounds escape Lai's throat. Sounds more savage than any Salimba could ever recall. Sounds that suddenly jar together in the stunned ringing of concussion. The beast trundles after the jungle child, kicking, hitting, smacking, pummeling, thwacking, thumping, battering. And you see Salimba just holding her head, and she's crumpled up on the ground like a child, and being really defeated. It says, until Salimba is engulfed by this insane orgy of violence and trapped out on her feet, no place left to run, no strength left to fight. And the creature that is Lai smacks her once more and puts her down. And she commands her zombie gorillas, bring her to the well. Be quick, you apes. And then you see in the final panel here, you see the poor unconscious form of Salimba being carried to the well. And this story has just been really racing at this point. And Lai picks up Naomi by the collar that she shackled to her, and she's like, you are wrong, human. Your queen came for you, and now you will help break her completely. The Well of Night reveals the primal essence, and you humans are nothing but puddles of protoplasmic scum. But Salimba is different. She's like me, I know it, and your blood sacrificed to the well will show her the truth. And Salimba starts regaining consciousness, and Lai's like, you're awake, just in time to say goodbye. And she's holding Naomi over the well, and she cuts her, to your friend. And Salimba screams out, Naomi, beautiful, so red, so lush, says Lai, as she watches Naomi bleed into the well. And the zombie apes are still holding Salimba. And Lai's telling her, you shall surrender to it, Salimba, body and soul. And she grabs her and she forces this water and blood into Salimba's mouth. And Salimba starts gagging. And she collapses there. She's gasping, she's coughing. And Lai is laughing. And then she's like, huh? Like a question? Like she doesn't understand what's happening. And then some realization hits her. And she's like, no. And Salimba's like, you should have heeded your own words. We are alike, as hereditary enemies always are. And then she screams as the transformation finishes. And Lai's like, unfair, unfair. All your race died eons ago. You can't do this. And Salimba is transformed into a saber-toothed tiger, like a giant one. And she jumps on top of this dog creature, this Cerberus creature that Lai has become, and just starts tearing her apart. She's like, deep within the tiny saber-tooth, the very essence of Salimba's heart pauses, somehow knowing that this Lai is like her. Both with roots so far back she had forgotten, both part of a lost age. And even as the beast in her overwhelms any feelings of compassion and strikes with deadly force, and you have a little crunching going on to signify that she's killing Lai. Salimba knows she is killing a part of herself here, a nasty part, a part best forgotten, and perhaps destroyed. And Salimba starts transforming back into herself, and she's reaching out for Naomi, who's laying there on the ground bleeding. She's like, Naomi, you're still alive? Don't worry, I'll save us. And Naomi's laying there around all parts of all these gorillas that are dismembered from her. And Salimba picks up one of her swords, and with that sword, drives it through the last part of Lai, killing her. and sending her on her way. And it says, much later, Selima would recall the look on the faces of the ungoverned zombie gorillas, looks of thanks and final rest. And she would see both justice and victory are fragile blessings at best. Easily lost in the clamor of success. And Selima is carrying Naomi over her shoulders. The cats are following her. And she's like, I'll find herbs and mud to heal your wound. And Naomi's very weak, and she's speaking up to her. She's like, Selima, forgive me. I was wrong. You do care. We were never true friends until now. And it says, or the heave of a friend's last breath. And Selima is left there holding the dead body of Naomi. And she's like, Naomi, my most beautiful, I won't forget how you've taught me to care. And that is the end of chapter 2, guys. That is that story. But this story continues straight into chapter 3, which we'll get to next week. And it's called Worm Boy Heaven. And it's a twisted little tale. And reveals yet another part of Selima's immortality. And what it means to her. And the kind of things she goes through because of it. But that's it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed the second part of the Selima special I've been running. I think it was a great story. I think it's a lot of fun and just a great character. I love the mysticism about it. I love the immortality about it and the learning to care when you've spent so many centuries just watching things come and die, and it would seem to be that it would lose meaning to you when all you do is watch things go through cycles. But she learned how to care again, but it caused the death of one of her subjects. And we'll continue this next week on Savage Saturday Comic Review 107. But for today, guys, that's it for now, and keep it casual. Thank you for watching. Attention all, use channel sponsor Rogue Trader at theroguetraderutah.com and my code KEEPITCASUAL for 10% off your comic cleaning and pressing needs. Remember, when submitting your books to be graded, use a trusted professional.